Alaska Natives meets today again, as I mentioned, to need the establishment of Puerto Rican Financial Stability and Economic Growth Authority. The crisis has gripped the island of Puerto Rico. The Obama administration, congressional Democrats, the governor of Puerto Rico, and their local territorial legislature, they are all correct. It is a crisis. In the light of that, Republicans in this committee are taking extra precaution to consider all the causes of this crisis and produce a comprehensive solution to a very complex problem. The Americans living in Puerto Rico, these are all Americans, are demanding strong leadership, capable of making necessary structural reforms, the hard choices to get the economy growing again and employment opportunities back. They deserve nothing less than the benefits that come with living within the United States, namely accountability in government, responsibility in fiscal management, and opportunities to create, innovate, and thrive with a tolerable business climate. A climate where energy prices are manageable and regulations do not hinder the ability of economic growth. If Puerto Rico is capable or is incapable or unwilling to provide these opportunities for these Americans, then the federal government has a responsibility to assist the island and help provide these opportunities that are lacking and desperately needed. To quote Speaker Ryan, who put so eloquently in his address last December, what government is supposed to do is to create an environment where the individual can thrive and communities can bloom. In other words, government makes things possible, but the people make them happen. Americans calling the territory home deserve nothing less. The opportunity to recover from this crisis with strong leadership and assistance from the federal government is the end solution we're here in this committee and aiming to provide. We would hope our colleagues on the other side of the aisle heed our call for developing a real, comprehensive, meaningful solution to present the President. We want to put Puerto Rico in a sustainable path towards full-term recovery and see this island thrive and prosper the next 100 years and beyond. I would say one thing on my behalf: if we'd done what I wanted to do 15 years ago, we wouldn't be in this mess. If we'd been made Puerto Rico a state, which they wanted to do, but Congress did not act. And I always will blame Congress for that. This is a territory that should be a state, and I've been very partisan in that. Not Republican or Democrat, but because I believe in it. I'll also suggest respectfully that this is a very difficult time for me, because I'm very strong on Puerto Rico. And we do, and we do have a financial crisis. And we're here today to try to solve that crisis. We'd like to find out from the witnesses what they would suggest. And in doing so, maybe we can have these Americans that put their lives on the line every day like every other American be recognized. We have neglected for over 100 years that territory should be a state. We've neglected Maine America and this Congress. And I'll say shame on us. And with Secretary.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, Resident Commissioner Pedrisi, for allowing me to participate today. So I just want to make a few points, and that is, I'm just going to go back to the memorandum that was issued to everyone here. And at the end of the second paragraph on background, it says, Congress retains plenary authority under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2 of the U.S. Constitution to determine the ultimate disposition of the political status of Puerto Rico. The fact is that the Congress of the United States retains plenary powers over everything in Puerto Rico, not just the status of Puerto Rico, and that is fundamentally what should be at issue too at this hearing, because you can't resolve one without the other. You want to take the government of Puerto Rico that doesn't control how merchandise is brought in or out, because the Jones Act says we must use the U.S. Merchant Marines. We're not going to discuss that here today, tomorrow, or any time between now and March 31st, yet the consumers in Puerto Rico need. You want to talk about economic development? How do you have economic development if your energy is outlandishly expensive? And if you don't invest in making sure that you have a clear water supply in a tropical island? So look, there's a lot of things, but fundamentally, let's deal with one thing, because the background statement doesn't say it. Why don't we just all come to the conclusion, which I'm sure Mr. Pedrisi agrees as the resident commissioner of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States of America. Puerto Rico is war booty from the war in 1898. It wasn't, I mean, how does Puerto Rico become part of the United States of America? It wasn't like the Puerto Ricans all got together one day, held a convention, and said, would you allow us? No. It was military intervention in Puerto Rico. Now, I like to say to the resident commissioner, I agree. And I'm going to fight with you to maintain some sense of reliability between what we do here and the functioning of the people of Puerto Rico over their future. But I fear that we might be trying to make a distinction without a difference. In that the truth is that we don't control in Puerto Rico any of the basic things. We don't control who comes to the island or who leaves the island, because that's controlled by the federal government. Our court system, no, you simply appeal to the Supreme Court. I mean, you simply submit to a federal court and the Supreme Court of the United States and the laws that we pass here. So when people say, oh, the people of Puerto Rico, they're responsible for everything that happened bad there and they need to take responsibility, no. The Congress of the United States has to assume responsibility over Puerto Rico because we have, as is stated here, plenary powers over the people of Puerto Rico. Why are we having this hearing here? And why aren't they having it in Puerto Rico? Because they can't have it there, because they don't have those plenary powers. So look, I'm concerned about senior citizens, Mr. Mayor, and I'm hopeful that the Franklin Fund has diversified their funds to the point, because I don't want you to make it sound like the only thing in that fund are Puerto Rican bonds, because they're not. I checked before I came to this hearing. You're a very well-diversified fund, and I hope you fulfilled your fiduciary responsibility to the people that you sold the bonds to and informed them of the precarious situation of the very bonds that you were purchasing. So don't put on us the responsibility of something that you sold to senior citizens, okay? Make sure that you understand that you too have a responsibility as the market in the United States of America. So I just want to say, look, everything is different in Puerto Rico. Everything is. Can't even go to McDonald's. The menu's in Spanish. Everything is different because Puerto Rico belongs to, but is not a part of, the United States of America. And I'm not saying that. That's what the Supreme Court of the United States of America has stated. Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States. There's no way around it. Otherwise, we would not be here. And the statement as made by the committee, very ably, that we have plenary powers over the people of Puerto Rico. So here's what I would suggest. Number one, let's restructure this debt fully. It's not a state. I didn't come here to try to make Puerto Rico more like a state. I came here to make the Puerto Rican people whole so that they could have a future. Let's restore the ability of the people of Puerto Rico to invite people to Puerto Rico. Let's stop fighting over what is the reality of the people of Puerto Rico and what they need. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, can't we provide the people of Puerto Rico the incentives to create jobs, economic activity, instead of expansion of more welfare programs in Puerto Rico? What we need is jobs so the people of Puerto Rico can use their intelligence. Because when the people of Puerto Rico leave and vanish from that island to come to the United States of America, guess what they do? They come here to work because they're bright, intelligent people. Let the Congress of the United States take the heel off the people of Puerto Rico and let them live prosperously. Let them have the economic development that they so deserve. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for having these hearings. I look for a resolution by March the 31st of this year, as Speaker Ryan has so promised.
I thank the gentleman. I can only say that I've listened to Mr. Serrano and yourself and the other witnesses. If we'd done what I said 15 years ago like we should have, we wouldn't be here today. And I would like to suggest respectfully, we are trying to solve an immediate problem, which is serious, and that doesn't stop me from still pushing statehood. And I know there's no chance can I say hell in this committee? I don't know. No chance in hell of that
Say
happening
heck.
under the present climate. But that doesn't preclude this from coming up again if everybody gets their house in order, and that's what we're going to try to